So, welcome to Blessed Madonna in the Sunshine Live interview.
Oh, I'm so thrilled to be here.
Your current track, Serotonin Moonbeams, is about falling in love with the left front speaker at raves. So why is it the left one?
Yeah, it's always the left one. I mean, there are people who prefer the right. The left one is always the good one.
So when the left one is broken, it's a bad rave.
If the left speaker is broken, the party's over.
Okay. So have you ever fallen in love at the rave?
Oh my God, yes, of course. Yeah, my husband that I've been with for a decade is somebody that I fell in love with for sure, right in front of a speaker. We had our first kiss in front of a speaker. There's a million pictures of us in front of the left front speaker at Smart Bar in Chicago, where we're from. I mean, it's everything.
That sounds great, like a whole love story in one song. And you went partying for the first time when you were 14. So
that's right.
A really early adopter at raves. So do you remember your first party?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, very specifically. It was called Sonic 2, and it was in Ohio in America. And I don't think it was terribly legal. And we drove there for an hour and a half from my house, a bunch of us teenagers, and I was a child, but it was just immediately, that was what I wanted to do.
So was it also the moment you decided like, oh, I think DJing or producing should be a thing for me in electronic music?
No, honestly, it wasn't. It took me a long time. It wasn't until I was in college, almost, let's see, 6 years later that I started DJing. So I think I had failed to imagine that as a possibility for me. DJing was something that came quite late. But when it happened, it was just, I didn't want anything else for the rest of my life. And then producing kind of came after that in the same way. It felt very, all of those things kind of unfolded in a natural way for me.
That sounds like the right way. And now you're super famous. So after so many years practicing, and in the beginning of February, your new track, We Still Believe, featuring Jamie Principle, is coming out. So
It is.
I haven't had the chance to listen to it yet. So maybe you can tell me a little bit about it.
Well, I wrote a version of this like a decade ago. But when I was writing it, I had always imagined in my mind that Jamie Principle would be on it. And I had released a kind of a demo version of it. It was actually one of the first records I released, but it was, I think it's an elegant first attempt, but I wanted a do-over. And so I bought the rights back to the track quite a few years ago, maybe 7 years ago. And I knew that I wanted to include it on my first album, and that I wanted to go back and take a look at it. So yeah, actually I did a couple of things. One thing was that I had Jamie re-vocal it, and Jamie is obviously, so important. He's the writer of Baby Wants to Ride. He's the writer of Your Love. Like those early Frankie Knuckles records, they really start as Jamie Principle demos. And then Jamie and Frankie get together, and the versions that we all know kind of come together. So there's sort of an interesting parallel here in that, it's a record that lived its own life as a demo, but then I kind of came back to it and I showed it to other people and got feedback, and actually sent it to the Soul Wax guys and asked them to take a look at it. And so what you hear now is kind of a dialogue between me and them, and then Jamie also became a part of it. And I think it's such a special record. It retains all of the, all of the synths from the original and everything are in it, but it really was kind of a statement of intent at a time before I had a career, and it has persisted for me all these years later. And so it felt wonderful to come back to it and with fresh ears and fresh eyes.
So did you already tested it in sets?
I have.
And how's the reaction?
It's really good. It's thrilling to see it, have that reaction with people, and to see people really connect with the message. And finally, I think it sounds right. You know, it's had a proper, I don't know, sometimes it just takes a long time to get down to the message that you're trying to make sonically, but I'm glad that I stuck with it.
So I'm looking forward now to listen to it.
Yeah, I think you'll like it.
And is it connected to your events, We Still Believe, because it's the same name or not?
Well, yeah, it kind of came out of the same, the record idea started because there were, even before the event was a thing, I had thrown a party and written We Still Believe on a cardboard box that I had unfolded. I took a shoe polish marker and I wrote it and I stuck it on the wall at this sort of illegal party we were throwing, at a really kind of dark time for me. And the party, you know, I just needed to feel this sense of hope around what was happening, and people really responded. And so for a while we kept the box and we would unfold it at parties, and then somehow it got lost. And then when I went to go and become a resident at Smart Bar and start my residency there, I thought, well, we'll just make a new version of it with a neon sign, which is, it's funny because incidentally, one of them, now there are several neon signs. There's one in America, there's one in my house, there's one, this is where my manager's office, they have the big one hung here because it's quite large. So over time, the idea has persisted, but the song was really more about the cardboard box and all of the things that I kind of, it was a list of things. I knew that I wanted to write a song that was a list of things that I believed in. And that is what the song is. And so that it comes from that feeling of, I think I'm always kind of trying to like talk myself into being as hopeful as I need to be to make it through. That's definitely like a part of my brain, and that comes into my songwriting, is that there's this sense of kind of trying to like find the thing that I need, whether I really have it or not.
So do you have some kinds of affirmations you're saying to you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I do. I will never reveal them in public, but I have a list of, I guess you could say affirmations. I have a special list that only a few people have seen, that gets whipped out in a crisis. It's called my crash list. It's like, it comes from, so when the White House in America, when there's a security threat, they have a thing that they call crashing, which means that like nobody can leave the rooms that they're in. And it's like this security protocol. And I felt like I needed this list of that I could turn to, like whenever I was really feeling unsure or panicked or freaked out, and that would be kind of like the voice of reason. And I've had it on my phone for over a decade. I guess self-talk is a big part of like my world survival strategy. You know, I've always kind of
Self-talk, what is it?
Self-talk, like to say, all right, kid, you got this. This is hard, but you know how to do this. You know, I think there's a part of me that's always trying to be the voice of the adult that I need and that I am not really in real life.
So nobody will see this list in public, but I can
No, not in
imagine.
public. Not in public.
but I can imagine. And it's nice when you have something which helps you. And when you have it on your phone, so you can do it everywhere. So do you have something like things you're scared about? So do you the list before you're going to trains because you're to planes because you really hated to fly or something?
Oh, I mean, the list of things I'm afraid of, it would take more time than we have on this show. I basically, I'm a machine that operates on anxiety and sugar-free peanut butter cups. So yeah, I like that. That is the propelling force for me. But the other part of it is hope. And so I guess probably all those things work together. I think if I wasn't anxious, I wouldn't be as productive as I am, and it's made me, I think, probably you know, as a DJ, fairly very much a workaholic, and as a writer, now that I've really pivoted into songwriting, especially over COVID and all of that, I think it's made me really prolific, and all of the things that are coming from that period, from sessions for this album and singles and things like that, but also for writing for other people now, getting into proper songwriting. All of that is driven by a sense of desperation and and anxiety and fear. But if you end up with a song that you love, then that's a beautiful thing.
So that's the connection between maybe anxiety and the text, and then a groovy vibe that you can go out of it and have a party. So you talk about your album. So can you maybe give us a sneak peek, like when we can listen to it? What kind of sound will it be?
Well, it'll be this year, and I'll say that it will have a very wide view of dance music, but it's a proper album. It, not to say that it's not club records, because I think you can play all the songs in a club, and certainly there will be lots of remixes and things like that. But I think Serotonin is probably a good example of where you can see where I'm really trying to flex in terms of actual proper writing, but then making it in the land of dance music, and playing with those conventions and ideas and touchstones. And I think the fact that the next record is with Jamie Principle really shows a point of where I'm trying to come from, which is to make a wide story about dance music, but one that is ultimately very personal, and that is the thing that I believe to be true, which is that dance music it is silly and fun, and it goes away on Monday morning, but it's also it is a thing that is real and important and in our actual lives, and that lasts forever, and our lives play out in that world. You know, it hasn't been useless. It's important.
Yeah, and I mean, you have sometimes maybe a gap or between your DJ sets and maybe the music you produce for playing in the radio, or is it like, did you feel that it's fits together because you can play everything on your sets? Like sometimes it's groovy, techno, dancey, and then you have this kind of disco sound. So is there an influence from your your DJ live and then this producer studio
100%,
person?
100%. If you like my DJ sets, then this album is going to make a lot of sense to you. And ultimately, it should be a story where there's a through line between all of those kinds of ideas and sounds and textures, and even some of the people that you hear in my sets, that, you know, that kind of stuff. And there is real, very serious disco in it. There is real, very serious house music. There's acid, there's techno, there's more experimental things, there's bass stuff that, but hopefully it all connects in a way where you're like, okay, right, that's one universe. All of those things are meant to talk to each other.
Okay, I will looking forward to it. to the music and all your tracks on it and on your album. So keep me updated when it will come out.
Absolutely.
And at the end, I have just one question, and then if it's possible to do some IDs for our radio station.
I would love to.
So the last thing I want to ask is, I saw that you have been arrested. So how did it happen?
Wait, what?
So you were arrested just for one night or something like this because
no, I've never been arrested.
Oh, I just saw something like this, that you were arrested because there was an illegal rave and it was too loud or something like this.
Oh no, I've had the cops come to a party, but I've never been arrested.
Okay. That's good.
Knock on wood. My God, I was like, do you know something? I have run from the cops successfully at a rave. I've been to a lot of illegal parties. I've seen a lot of people arrested, but I have personally never. I'll say this: it's a miracle I've never been arrested.
Okay, so I was like, oh wow, she was arrested, so I have to ask about it.
No, and I'm going to try not to get arrested because I travel a lot and they don't take kindly to criminals flying around. So I'm gonna try to keep my hands clean.
Thank you very much. So thank you for the interview. Thank you, Marea, for your time.
Sunshine Live, electronic music radio.